Hello, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations About Culture, the podcast where myself and a few of my friends get together and discuss nerdy things. Just a reminder, if you like what you're listening to, please subscribe to Seriously Pointless Conversations YouTube channel, or you can find us on your favorite podcasting apps. Thank you for your support. Without you, none of this would be possible. Thanks for coming by. Now let's get into the episode. Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Seriously Pointless Conversations. My name is David, and I'm joined by my co-host, James. What's up, James?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet me. We've been knowing forever, man. So, yeah, if you guys are new to the podcast...
Well, nice to be here for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time, yeah. Let's do that. James and I have been friends for, well, pretty much our whole lives, so... if it seems like we're a little familiar with each other, that's yeah. Just take it with a grain of salt, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about Subnautica. I know last week that I talked and said we were going to try and do a My Neighbor Totoro, but that kind of got put on hold. That hopefully will come in the future. But today we're going to be talking about Subnautica, just mainly because we really like video games, and I figured it's a nice little departure from just like films. And like I said, we cover everything in this podcast. So, but anyways, before we get into it, so obviously we're both huge nerds. Yes. we've been playing video games. I think the first time I was really interested in video games was probably. Wow, when I came over to your house, we played a Super Nintendo for the first time?
I think we got the Super NES, and I think we had Super Mario All-Stars and the Super Mario RPG, I think, were the first couple.
I think my most vivid memory of going over to your house was playing Clay Fighter.
Oh, we played the heck out of Clay Fighter.
I know, and I was so bad at it. Between you and it was another one of our buddies, Chris. He would play. I remember we would have sleepovers, and we'd just have like Mountain Dew fueled evenings.
And looking back, I'm trying to remember why we liked Clay Fighter so much to begin with, because we had Mortal Kombat 3, and that was like an objectively better game.
Obviously,
but Clay Fighter was just cool. I mean, it was different.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of like interesting to think about, like how our tastes have changed over time, and how we get to things like you look at all the simplistic games that weren't so simplistic back then, like Clay Fighter and Super Mario All-Stars, where there were side-scroller fighting or action games, and you get to something like Subnautica, of all things, which is just bizarre, and it's so enormous.
It was a surprisingly amazing game. I mean, it was a lot more than I was expecting when we got into it.
I know. Just for everybody, for a little bit of background, if you aren't familiar with the Subnautica game, it is an open-world survival action adventure video game developed and published by Unknown Worlds Entertainment. I apologize. In this game, players are free to explore the ocean planet known as 4546b. After your spaceship, the Aurora, crashes on the planet's surface, the player must collect resources and face creatures to survive and eventually try to get off the planet. So that's a super simplistic synopsis of the game.
Well, and it's kind of was interesting for me because it kind of defies expectations. You get into it, and you see open world survival game, and you think, okay, it's a dime a dozen survival game.
Absolutely.
I'm going to craft some stuff. We're going to kill some monsters, and I'm going to get bored in about 3 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before you know it, after you've gotten to this game, they have a story it's simple, but it's so in depth, and the environments that they throw into you, and game. What am I trying to think of? The word I'm trying to think of. Basically the mechanics. All the game mechanics they throw at you, they're insanely unique, but they're also insanely familiar.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's in a lot of ways, it's very similar to other crafting games. You collect random materials, like bits of seashells, bits of other creatures, horns and teeth and whatever, and you make increasingly complex things with it, but... I just thought it was really cool because it dumps you out in this first area called the Safe Shallows, and so that's the central gimmick is, well, the entire game is a water world.
Yep.
Which is one, it's absolutely gorgeous. The map is handmade;
I know.
it's not computer generated, and they've taken a lot of care to make each area of the map really beautiful.
Which is insane because from what I heard, it was a small development team that made this. It wasn't actually any studio owned by a bigger company at the time. Obviously, Microsoft has pushed money into this thing now for the new one that's coming.
Yes.
That's actually going to be I don't know if it's going to be a brand new game or it's just going to be a tack on.
It's a standalone. It's going to be a sequel of sorts,
Okay.
I think.
A sequel of sorts, okay. Because I was trying to stay like you were. I was trying to stay away from it a lot of.
I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, you don't want to at all. But just a little bit more about the game before we get really into the nitty gritty. The first game was released on January 23rd, 2018. And it was so well received. It sold approximately 5.3 million copies for an independent game. That's a lot of copies to move. That's not including like digital sales and things like that.
And this was just on Steam. This is before it hit other platforms.
That is before it hit other platforms, which is it's bizarre to see something come out like that. And it was so well received that it actually won best game of the year or best PC game of the year from the Golden Joystick Awards of 2018. And like I said, it's so well received. People, I think they give it around 4.5.8 normal on a 5-point scale. This is unheard of for an independent game. Usually people have a lot of little nitpicky things about survival games like, this is just a trope that's been done over and over again. Oh, the graphics looks dumb. Especially in independent companies, they don't have the amount of resources like, say, one of the Microsoft or Sony guys have, where they can make these gorgeous sceneries. So I was really pleasantly surprised. So I know we kind of got into a little bit of background. So where did you actually first hear? Do you remember?
Well, and that's what I've been trying to remember today whenever we started talking about doing this topic. And yeah. I know there was a YouTuber named Jacksepticeye, and he did a bunch of videos about Subnautica. Mm-hmm. I think it might have just come up in my Steam feed first. Mm-hmm. And I think, because I like open world games and puzzle games, I've done things like Slime Rancher and stuff like that, other kind of big name indie open world games. And so I think this came up in my feed first, and I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure I saw it on Jacksepticeye's channel. And
is that Jacksepticeye at YouTube?
Yeah, he's the Irish guy. He's kind of crazy. He's honestly not normally my cup of tea, but...
Well, see, I had seen, like, the review. Was it, what's it called? It's not Jim Sterling's channel. It's the other guy. He does the 30-second, like, it's like a quick rant.
Yeah.
What is he called?
I don't remember.
I cannot remember his name, but he's a British guy and he does these super fast reviews, and I was just like, that's okay or whatever. And I've watched some videos of him when it was first coming out, and I'm just like, it doesn't look like my cup of tea, because I'm not a big like survival guy. I don't like that kind of stuff. I like open world kind of games, RPGs. But I don't really I like to have them whenever it's more of an open world RPG. That's really what I kind of fall into.
Exactly. It's the exploration that really draws me more than the survival elements.
Exactly.
And so a lot of these games get into this really grindy gameplay loop where you are just kind of going out and picking up twigs and making...
back and forth,
and it's just traveling back and forth, and it gets really old really fast.
It's tedious, but then I remember it was about a year ago now.
Yeah, I think it was last fall.
It was about last fall. So you brought it up to me, said, hey, I've been playing this for a while. I tried it. Have you gotten a hold of this? And I was just like, I don't know. And I think, you gifted it to me, didn't you?
I did, actually. It was the birthday presents for most of our friend group for like the last year. I've been giving everyone a copy of this game.
And I was like, that's great. And I was just like, well, I felt bad at first. I was like, well, he gave it to me. I need to try it and at least see if I like it. And if I drop a couple hours on it and I don't do anything, maybe he'll ask me if I did it, if I did replay it or not, and I'll be like, it was okay. I didn't really, not my cup of tea, things like that.
Whatever, yeah.
Like we do with a lot of games.
You gotta give it a shot.
Because something that like clicks for me may not click for you. It's just the way it is. But I was pleasantly surprised whenever I got into it. I remember the first time I started playing, I played for about 3 or 4 hours. which I don't do with a lot of games. I usually have to go in spurts for like maybe 2 hours, take a break, go do something else, and then I'll come back and kind of sit down and do that. But man, I did 4 hours that first day, and then for like a week solid. I know every little bit of time. I think I forgot to do a lot of chores, and my wife was getting mad at me. So,
I think for a casual playthrough, we both ended up at about 20 or 30 hours.
I think that's about what it set me at. It was about 25 hours,
something like that.
But yeah, it's just amazing to watch how you progress in the game. So like, can you remember? I know it's going to be hard to think about it because talking about like the first time you started, you found the game. What did you think the first time you booted the game up and you dropped yourself into that world?
So I mean, the first thing is that it starts with this little crash sequence. Okay, whatever, and then it just plunges you right into the water. And so the first thing you notice, of course, is it starts you in this safe, shallow area. It's got this beautiful coral reef. There's lots of colorful fishes. Yeah, and you just. It's gorgeous. And so you start off and you break a few rocks and you make a little scanner device. And what really started drawing me in is when you start moving into the next area where you get to like the kelp forest and then down to like the grassy plains areas. They had a really great command of like depth and light. And what I mean by depth is like as you go deeper into this ocean abyss, the light starts to get dimmer. You start getting... it becomes darker and more mysterious as you go, and then things get more dangerous as you go. And so there's this draw to explore, and they've really commanded this very kind of natural fear that I think most people have at least a touch of, is this fear of going into deep water.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even in the deep end of like the pool, I remember sitting there on the diving board the first time when I was like a kid, and I'm looking at the deep pool, and you can see the bottom of the pool, and I'm just like, shark's gonna pop out of there out of nowhere like that, and I'm gonna get eaten.
Yeah.
And you just have that. It's the natural fear of something that's ingrained in us, I guess, as human beings, because we can't breathe in it.
Yeah.
You can only stay in it for a short amount of time, and there are things that are like colossally bigger than us that are in the water that can eat us.
Exactly. And so it's this tension between like the drive to explore and progress and then the fear of going deeper into the water, and that I think is what makes it so much fun.
Because the whole point is you have to get off this planet, and the only way to do that is to go deeper. So it's like, can you overcome your innate fear of going deeper into the water, dealing with these monsters that are obviously trying to kill you to get off this planet so you can get back to whatever, you're basically your colony ship, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even
it's
work
like
for
the Altera Corporation. It's some kind
it's
of
like a big corporation,
yeah.
They don't really ever go into it all that much, which is great. I like that because they leave it vague. They don't want to go to like... They don't say, human beings have expanded across the universe. They don't really go into that, which is great. They just kind of leave it as, you work for a corporation, you're Joe Blow, your spaceship has crashed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. It's loose enough.
Clear motivation.
Exactly. It's loose enough, and you don't have to worry about it mugging it down with all this other background junk that a lot of games, I think, get bogged down in. But yeah, so like you were saying, you start in that Shallows era, and like you were saying, let's just talk about a little bit about the mechanics, like you were saying, and the monsters and things like that. And so whenever you start in the Shallows, you get the little manatee things that like fart out like gas bubbles.
They're like radioactive manatees or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and so they
don't actually attack you. They just sit there and fart out their poison gas bubbles. And I think I killed myself a couple times trying to fight them before I realized that they don't care about you at all.
They don't care about you at all. Nothing in the Shallows will attack you. That's the best part about the Shallows, because you're just like you're essentially like to describe it, I guess in a concise way, the Shallows are like, welcome to preschool. Yeah. Everything has foam and rubber around it, and you cannot hurt yourself unless you stay under the water too long.
Yeah, unless you drown, or the exploding cavefish kill you, or the...
But I mean, those are few and far between. You can swim away from those. They won't chase after you.
They won't.
At all. And
and the shallows are only like 30 feet deep, and so you can get from the bottom to the top in about 5 seconds. You shouldn't drown. I mean, it's a really safe place.
I saw a guy do it. I was watching a guy on Twitch one day, and he straight up drowned. He's like, "Oh my god, how did I forget?" And I'm just like, "For real, dude? Like your thing will start blinking at you, and it's an audible noise to go up to the surface. Like, how did you forget? Like, how?" But like as you progress, like you were saying, once you get into like the tall what do you call it? The kelp forest. That's what it was. And you get into there and you get these like snaggletooth. I almost call them like gar almost, but they're called something else.
They have a name. I don't know.
Like needle nose.
I just call them
needle tooth, saber tooths or something like that. But anyways,
they have a name.
But anyways, But the only purpose for them is to get their freaking teeth.
Yeah.
And I remember that.
It's the first fish that's aggressive. It'll chase you. It'll bite you a couple times, and it mostly just kind of patrols around this kelp forest area. But this is what I think was so effective about it as a game is the visibility in this kelp forest is very low because it's all kelp, and you hear these things coming way before you see them.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those games, it's great to play with when you have headphones on.
Definitely a good set of headphones or someplace where you can turn the volume up because it really adds to the ambiance.
No, absolutely. That's what I said. There's a few games where it's like you tell yourself, I'm going to put on a set of headphones because I want to be immersed in this.
Exactly.
I think the only other game I played was that was great. That was great for was Hellblade. I don't know if you ever played that.
I didn't play Hellblade. No.
It was about a Scandinavian female that was kind of, I guess you would say, schizophrenic.
Okay.
And it was great. It was great because you could hear these voices in the side of your headphones,
that sounds
and they would do it like. They were great. They could do it from the back part of your headphones, and it was phenomenally made. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. But that's one of those things with like sound in this. You can hear these monsters coming, and it's muffled enough that you're like, oh, I kind of hear them coming. Or I hear a big bellow whenever you get further down, and you're just like constantly rotating yourself as fast as you can to try to see where's he at? Where's the big ugly lava monster like dragon at? You know, am I gonna die? It's like, where's this thing at?
But exactly. The first time you're going to the big ship and you hear the scream from that first Reaper that shows up, and you're like, dear God, I'm just going to go back to the shallows.
Yep.
And we're never coming.
I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Screw this. I'll go back to the island. I'll build a hut. I'll live there and I'll die.
We're just going to build a little base. We're going to have a base building game.
Which is great talking about that. So, like, did you know that they have, like, it's a free flow mode in it, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, so you literally they're like, so, we know you like to build stuff. Here's this mode. And I'm like, that's great. They don't push you at all. You don't have to go deeper if you don't want to. Yeah. You can literally spend 50 hours building in the shallows.
Yeah, and if you do the creative mode and go in the subreddit, you can see some gorgeous things people have done.
I know. And I was just like, I'm looking at these things and I'm like, my base is trash.
Well, it's like on survival mode, it takes a long time to gather that stuff together.
I know, and I was just like, how did you have time to do this? Like, it's just like, what is it, the line from a South Park? It's like, make love, not Warcraft. How do you kill which has no life? That's what I feel like. I hate to bash on some of these people, but it's just like, and it's their love, but it's just like, you people don't have a life. I love that you do this, but I cannot pour that amount of time into this. Thank God that they can, though.
I'm glad they can.
Because I couldn't do it.
I enjoy watching what people come up with and create, but man,
I'm just not that. I can't. I just don't have that drive on there. But so kind of talking about, I know we talked about going deeper in the game as you go further down into the depths. So the great thing about that, if you play the story mode, it almost forces you to go deeper.
It draws you in because the first part of the story is you're like going to visit other life pods, ostensibly to try and rescue other people.
Yeah.
And it draws you in the first couple sections, and then you start finding out kind of the story of what happened on this planet and what's going on here. It sucks you down deeper into the depths.
And it's weird, like, once you get to the... at first you think, oh, I'm on this... there's no land at all. Mm-hmm. And then you find out there's one little bit of land in your ship, and that's it. and you go. I remember when you. I don't. If this is a warning, if you guys have not played this at all.
From this point on, there's going to be spoilers.
There's going to be huge amounts of spoilers. I mean, we've been going for about 15, 20 minutes now. Just expect it now. And it's 3, 2, 1 spoiler territory now. So, but yeah, like once you get in there and really find out that there is this giant like mountain, and you're like, oh, a piece of land. I bet there's somebody here. And you're expecting somebody to be there. And once you kind of start to explore around there, you find that alien base, like the little doorway. And you're just like...
The first Agassi base, yeah.
Yeah, Agassi. Is that what they're called?
That was the ship before you that left all the other, like, underwater stuff created.
Okay, so...
Like the guys who built the planters and the little bases in random locations.
Okay, so
that was from a ship called
Do you remember
Agassi.
what the aliens are called?
They just call them the precursors, I think.
The precursors?
Yeah, just your typical kind of...
Because I'm curious, I'll be honest with you. Let me look real quick, because I'm nosy.
Is it a precursor or just alien or something? It was kind of generic, I think.
Yeah, I don't know for a fact, but I remember.
Because you do this first island they take you to is the floating island.
Yeah, I remember that. What is? Yeah, they just call it alien thermal plant, primary containment, things like that. Yeah. They don't give you an actual name, but yeah. Once you get into that and you start thinking like you find your first tablet and you're like, what the hell do I do with this? And when you finally get to that island, it's like, oh. This is all alien tech. This isn't like some like other people. Because at first, whenever I don't know, it's weird because you can either go one of two ways. If you can either go inside that little cave and find the portal where it kicks you to the other island.
Yeah.
And you find your the Agassi, the crew where they sit up there, and you're just like you get like, oh, I can go here and I can get all the resources they left here, and it's very helpful, actually.
That's nice. You get your planters, you get your melons. There's all kinds of nice stuff.
I know, and you can put it in your ship. That's a rabbit hole right there.
Yes.
But then you can go or you can go towards the alien ship or the alien first containment, I guess you would call it, and you can kind of learn a little more about the aliens there, which is great. So you kind of have to make a choice a little bit, like which one do you want to go for first, because eventually you'll have to go and find another tablet to open up the alien portion, that one.
Well, and this is the interesting part of this choice you mentioned is that at this point in the storyline too, you've been contacted by another ship called the Sunbeam that says it's going to come pick you up and rescue you, and so in your mind you're thinking, okay, this is a small indie game. We're about 3 hours in now. It's just about done. This was a lot of fun. Great. And this countdown is going to the time you get rescued. And then you start finding all these, alien things on the planet. And you're starting to think, oh, there's actually a lot more going on here.
Yeah, really. And you're just like, this is going to be a lot shoved in to, 3 or 4 hours. It's just like, but this is great. I can do that. But then you get to that point where they're like, we're coming in. We're going to see you. And then all of a sudden, the thing that on the island, it activates. It starts to move. And it ends up becoming
the alien base, literally picks itself up and turns into a giant gun and shoots.
Yeah, just a straight up artillery station, and it shoots the ship out of the sky, and you're just like, what the hell?
Well, I guess that's why we crashed.
At least we know why we crashed now, and so it's great. Like the pacing of this game is phenomenal. They don't give you everything at once, and they'll do it like little bits and pieces. Like you figure out now that's how we crashed. Obviously all this technology is still active, so maybe I can use it. And it's amazing how they pace it in there, and that's one of the best parts of this game. I think is the pacing. They don't shove everything all at you once. It's like a fine wine.
Well, exactly. It's a good exploration game. They give you enough tidbits to make you want to keep looking for yourself.
Absolutely. But so I guess after we kind of talked about that's that's probably what
that's the first 2 or 3 hours of the game.
It's not very much, and so over time as you go down, you kind of see, the other crew that had been over the Agassis, they had actually explored further down, I guess, but they never get down as far as you do in the game.
I think the Grand Reef is the deepest they got.
Yeah.
Which was like, what, 700 meters or something?
Or something like that.
It's about half as deep as you would have.
Because you get over, what's the deepest part of that?
I think 16 or 1700 is the deepest bit.
Because I remember you have to get, because at first you get, that's one of the great things about the game mechanics. So at first you get each little machine that you get, at first it's just the little bitty...
The Sea Glide.
The Sea Glide. And it's like, oh, it's so cute. I can go kind of fast, and it's way faster than swimming, though, I'll give it that.
It's a lot faster.
And then I don't think you ever can upgrade that, but the next thing, that your first, like...
It's like a little personal sub.
Personal sub is the Sea Moth. Exactly, I remember that one. And I remember loving that thing to death.
Oh, it's the best.
It's so cute, and you're just like, oh, I'm putting around, la la la.
Well, it's great because it has its own air source in it, so it's the first time you can actually like go deeper and not have to continuously run up to the surface.
You basically have an air source point, kind of like a waypoint. You can just go back and forth, and you can actually store some of the resources you get as you go deeper. And it's the first time you kind of figure out, oh, I can have kind of a mini mobile base with me.
Exactly, and this is one thing which is really a strength of this game and this studio, is they actually have a pretty well developed like module system for these things. Like the Seamoth has a bunch of little upgrades you can get. One of those is like a storage locker. You can get extra armor for it.
You can get extra armor. You can I remember they
get solar panels for it. You can get a little zappy shield for it.
Yeah, because they don't have claws. That's the what's the mech? I can't remember what it's called. I cannot remember what it's called. In a second. I'll have to look it up here real quick. But eventually that's what. Let me look it up real quick. But I know whenever you eventually get all these little updates and things as you slowly progress in the game, and you have to get these basic machines. Where are we at? Prawn. It's the prawn suit. Because I remember it was always like sea.
It was something crustacean-y, and I kept wanting to say like a clownfish or something, which doesn't make any sense.
Well, so that's the thing, is like they always try to make it sea adjacent. Yeah. Like even with the biggest ship that you eventually get, which allows you. It's a Cyclops, because the Cyclops in Greek mythology were all these islands, and there were sons of Neptune and all that stuff. Which is kind of a cool concept. But eventually, I guess, whenever you finally get to that big... I remember the first time I built the Cyclops, I was like, I can go anywhere. Well, and then you find out, no, I can't.
Well, and the thing of the Cyclops is, like, it's huge. Exactly. Like, it's so big that you can fit other vehicles inside of it. And I've never seen that in a game like this before. Yeah, it's a fully pilotable like base that you can drive around.
Exactly, and a little part of you almost forgets about your main base whenever you first started there.
That. Because I remember like whenever you first created, like you hit the button and it starts building it, and it's absolutely massive. Yeah, and then like it drops in the water and it makes this giant wave that pushes everything out of the way, and then the game chimes in and says, welcome to your Cyclops. This is normally piloted by a crew of 3 people, and you're like, oh gosh.
Well, that's not daunting at all.
And you go inside, and there are actually 3 different stations to control the thing.
I know.
You have to run back and forth to try to control it.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is like you think to yourself, you're like, how is anybody supposed to like? It's super overwhelming at first. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like whenever you first get there, you're like, how am I supposed to get all this stuff myself? Mm-hmm. But you're like, how do I pilot this by myself? You're like, and you have to have everything set up exactly right. It's like, whatever. Do I have to have somebody piloting this ship? I have to have somebody messing with the engine. I have to have somebody messing with the weapon systems. Yeah, it's just like, oh my god. And so like half the time, you're just like avoiding combat because it's a pain in the butt to try to fight these guys and move at the same time.
It doesn't get you anything. Like, there's no reason to fight. It's just a loss for yourself.
Exactly. That's kind of what I always thought. I was just like, all it does, especially whenever you get to some of the enormous monsters, and that's one of those things. Like, I'm talking like I'm talking about the very edge of the map, where it's just they're not, are they Leviathans? I can't remember what they're called.
The big ones are Reapers.
That's what it is.
And the translucent ones are Ghost Leviathans. Or Ghost
Reapers. And they just sit at the edge of the map to basically say, you're not allowed to go here.
Well, and so that's actually one of my all-time favorite moments in the game, is whenever the first time you pilot a ship or anything into the dunes area, the computer pops in and says, multiple Leviathan-class creatures detected nearby. Are you sure that what you're doing here is really worth it?
It's a very polite way of them saying, hey, go back.
And the answer is, no, it wasn't worth it.
No, not at all. Because if you do succeed in killing one of these things, which I don't know how hard it was for you, but I remember I fought one of these things for almost 15 minutes one time.
I fought one of the Ghost Leviathans with the prawn suit and the drill for a good half hour, and I don't think I ever actually killed it.
That's the thing is, I think I killed it.
The game doesn't really give you weapons. You can get a fiery knife thing, and you can kill some of the smaller fish with it. But the big monsters are never really realistic.
See, I went back after. No, it's okay. So that's what I did after the fact. After I had beaten the game, I went back to my very last save point because I saved right before you take off in the big rocket, and I was like, I'm going to go see if I want to kill these things. And I loaded up on torpedoes like nobody's business. I spent a good hour and a half just manufacturing torpedoes. And then it just took me every 15 minutes to kill one. Excuse me. Oh, we'll cut that out too. But it took me a good 15 minutes to try to kill one. And I think I did. Because I heard it scream, and it, kind of ran away, and then I think that's kind of, I guess, what you do. I think
they do die, and this is one of the cool things about the game is they don't respawn.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
In fact, actually, nothing respawns in the game, except for the smallest fish will gradually respawn. But, the rocks, the resources, the big monsters...
So it's all finite. I didn't know that.
They're finite.
That's cool.
It's a closed world. If there's, I think 7 or 12 Reapers or something on the map, but if you kill them, they're gone. They will
that's a great mechanic though, because in a lot of their games, things will eventually come back, and you can just farm areas over and over again. Which I guess now that you say that makes sense, because I remember going back trying to get certain minerals, the rare ones, and they're just not there.
And they're just not there, and you have to look further down for them. And that's part of the thing is nothing respawns over time. You can't quit and reload.
So it's
the map is the map.
It's very real world like.
Exactly.
Which is great. So it gives you that finite amount of resources that you have to use in a particular way, but they have enough of it that you're you mess up a few times here and there.
You can build a massive base. There's plenty on the map. You can't just sit in one area and continuously farm the same.
Because you will eventually just burn the resources out.
Because we all build our first base in the safe shallows, and then by the time you're a few hours in, you can't find limestone there anymore. It's you've just mined it all. It's gone.
But after that, so you were talking about as you get deeper and it kind of opens up the story. How do you feel about once you get kind of close to the end of that story? Once you get to the very bottom base, it basically, I call it Lava World, is what I call it. Because that's all it is. That's all it is. And so you get to that bottom base, and they get the big reveal. 3, 2, 1. Big spoiler. Big spoiler. Mm-hmm. You get there, and they have... What's the creature called? I'm trying to remember what it's called.
They call it the Sea Emperor is what they call it.
The Sea Emperor, yeah. And you find she's not only sentient, but she's telepathic.
Yes.
And so you're like, what the heck? There's an actual sentient being on this.
Well, and it's a big reveal because they foreshadow it a little bit, because if you go to there's an optional research base you can get into with the Orange Tablet, I think. And they have an egg of a Sea Emperor there, and you're like, oh, look at this, it's so cool.
Yeah, you're thinking, oh, this is just the big apex predator of the thing, and
but then you get there, and you're in this deep base in the deepest part of the world that you spend all this time getting to, and there's just a giant, hatch, I guess.
Yeah.
And you jump into the hatch, and there's, for lack of a better term, a glorified, humongous fish tank.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fish tank because it keeps her there, and I guess they had left her there. I don't know, because they never really explain what actually happens to the alien race, the precursors, do they?
They don't. There was the bacteria in there, I think they call it the coronavirus or something like the
which is what you get.
They're the corophage bacteria, something like that. That's what you get. And I think they explained that this previous alien race was infected with it, and I guess they were space-worthy because they built all this stuff to contain the world.
I mean, I would assume so.
They quarantined this planet, and they said that the Sea Emperor apparently naturally makes some kind of enzyme that can fight the bacteria, and they were trying to force it to breed for them because apparently the young ones do it better. I don't know. But
That's kind of what I got out of it too. Like I remember that part, but I just didn't know if they just left or if they had all died.
I got the impression I got was that the ones that were already on the planet all died, and that some of them were out in space somewhere.
Okay.
Like they quarantined the planet, and anyone who was infected wasn't allowed to leave. So I think a lot of the people were implied just to have died there.
Which is that's kind of a cool thing because
maybe the Below Zero game will have more going on.
That's kind of what I was wondering too, if they were going to stretch that out a little bit or not. Because honestly, if they wanted to, they could stretch this out into like another 2 games probably if they really wanted to. But I know, like, so eventually you get down there, like you were saying, you run into the Sea Emperor. She basically says, they gives you the rundown. They try to force me to breed and all that stuff and hatch my offspring. She goes, but I didn't want to, but now I want to.
Yeah, it's that they wouldn't let them go. But if you'll let them leave, then I'll do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're just like, you kind of basically have to make a deal with her.
Mm-hmm.
And you do. And a little part of you thinks, like, is she going to kill me after I do this?
She's gigantic.
I know. And so you can imagine it's this thing that's like, what would you call a great white whale? Probably
the size of a whale or more. Yeah,
got to be bigger. It's just humongous.
I mean, like you're the size of like the tip of her flipper, and
if that, yeah. And you're just like, sure. You give her like the thumbs up, and you're just like, I'll get that.
I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever you want. Just get me off this planet. And so after you do that, you're able. She gives you. I guess you get access to all the.
She gives you the recipe for hatching enzymes.
That's what it is, and then you're able to get off the planet because the turret systems or the artillery systems won't target your ship.
They'll turn you off. They'll turn off if you're not infected anymore. Yeah.
And so technically, you can build your ship before you even get there. Your spaceship.
You can, yeah. You get the recipe for like the Neptune rocket before you even get there.
Yeah, and you can try and leave, but it won't let you. Like you can do everything, like have everything set up, ready to go, but it's just like due to the fact that you have like the virus still, it won't let you leave, and it's just like, well, screw you, computer. I wanted to try. You would have been blasted out of the area, but it is what it is. So, but yeah, that's kind of the story in the nutshell. But I thought, what did you think about it overall? Like the story.
Overall, I enjoyed it immensely. I love those exploration-driven open-world games. Not the ones where it's just like a series of like little quests for no reason.
Repetitive tasks, yeah.
The repetitive kind of task thing now. Like if I want to do that, I'll just play WoW. But
absolutely, yeah. It's if you just want to go out and just do the same thing over and over again.
These big open-world exploration-driven things. This was the game of the year for me personally. I enjoyed it immensely.
Hey, that's kind of what I
think from the visuals, the sound, having a nice storyline to it. And doing this full underwater world is such a unique thing. I enjoyed it a lot.
That's what I said. I was just like, I was so impressed by it overall that I actually have it saved on my Steam page. Because I'll be fair, I will not play this on anything other than PC because I just don't think. I mean, other systems could probably handle it and make it look good and do it justice. But the way it plays on PC, it feels natural, and you can tell that they ported it over from PC onto these systems. I definitely already have it saved on my Steam page, so I will probably buy it the day that it comes out, or at least within the first couple months, depending on how busy I am, depending on everything that's going on. It's definitely going to be in my Steam library. It's not going to sit there like some of these other games I play. Like I think I've got games that I've bought like 8 years ago I haven't even touched.
We've all got like 100 Humble Bundle games that we picked up.
Absolutely.
And never messed with.
God bless you, Humble Bundle. If you ever want to sponsor us, we will straight up take your money. So, but yeah. So overall, like you said, you loved the game. I loved the game. Have you ever thought about going back and playing for fun?
I did actually play it a second time.
But you did?
I did.
See, I never did. So I kind of played the creative mode a little bit, but I never played the storyline. So, like, what was the difference between playing the first time and the second time?
I already knew where a lot more of the stuff was.
Yeah.
And so for me, going through it a second time was more about just giving myself more time to explore and look through these locations. And I definitely hung out more in the Dangerous areas than I did before. So instead of building a base in the safe shallows, I built a base like down in the floating islands area.
Yeah.
And I built another one down in the inactive lava zone. I mean, it's like you build... It was just a chance to kind of explore more of the game that I didn't do the first time and to use more of the gizmos and...
Yeah, see, I only made 2 bases. I made one in the shallows, and the next one I made was all the way down what's it called? It's like the Misty Mushroom area. I can't remember what it's called.
The Mushroom Forest or something?
I guess you'd call it Mushroom. Yeah. We'll call it Mushroom Forest, but that's the second base I made.
Yeah.
And that's kind of was my jumping off point from going there and down further. See, I didn't do that, but I haven't really played it yet other than the creative portion, but I honestly, I think I could probably get back into it again. It's just, I have to have the right mood for it, and I don't know.
It is a fixed map, so it's not infinitely replayable. This isn't something you're going to play for decades or something.
Exactly. If it was, if
but I think it's definitely good for a couple of playthroughs.
Absolutely. So I guess, I guess somebody's played it numerous amounts of times. Because I always like to throw these little things in there, like little tidbits. And so you were talking to me about Salvar's speedrun.
Yeah, there's a guy called Salvner. Currently has the world record for the any % survival speedrun for Subnautica.
Which is insane. So actually,
it's like 35 minutes, I think, now.
36 minutes, 51 seconds.
He posts a new one every couple weeks on his YouTube channel.
And I said that's the most recent one at the time that I made this document, which was a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. Who thinks that says, oh, I'm going to do this in less than 40 minutes, essentially. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine doing that.
It's absolutely insane, and I would definitely recommend anyone who's finished the game to watch his speedrun, because
absolutely,
for a speedrunner, he has a very engaging way of doing it, and he talks and explains as he goes every time, which is not a lot of speedrunners do, so... Yeah, it's definitely a pleasurable watch.
Well, see, I don't know how you are. I love watching speedrunners because they find all the cracks and the crevices, and they just demolish games. And it makes you think like, wow, I am super inadequate at what I do as for a hobby, and these guys basically make it their like second job almost.
Yeah, I've got a couple I like to follow. I follow Small Ant 1. He's a Super Mario Odyssey speedrunner. And Linkus7, he does a lot of different Zelda games.
Oh, yeah.
Those two are both pretty cool.
If you guys are ever interested in like looking at speedruns and things like that, there's a website called speedrunners.com. I think it has all the national boards and stuff on it for all the video games. And you can literally type in whatever video game you want and see if there's a speedrun for it. And if there's not, go for it yourself. That's what I say. Yeah. Just try something out. But
you can also check out the Games Done Quick has a YouTube channel.
Ooh, GDQ is so good.
The summer GDQ just happened, so they just posted a bunch of new videos.
Yep.
If you just want to look at a game and not have to try and figure out who you should be watching, just pull up the GDQ page.
GDQ is phenomenal.
It's on charity too, so
that's what I said, because I think I'd give to them every time I can, every chance I can. So even if it's like $5, guys, go give to them. They're a phenomenal charity. I think they did. I don't know if they did Cancer Foundation last time.
I think it was cancer this time.
No, it was Doctors Without Borders.
That's what it was, yeah.
It was Doctors Without Borders. But yeah, they are phenomenal. If you guys ever get bored, they have they always have weekly guest hosts on their Twitch channel, and they also have, like I said, the summer events, and they're putting out more, especially with all the Corona scare and things got going on right now. They're doing a lot more online events. So they're even more accessible than normal. So, but yeah, so that's our Subnautica episode. Thanks everybody for coming by. If you guys enjoyed this episode and you like what we're doing here, you can always come over to us on YouTube at Seriously Pointless Conversations, or any of your favorite podcasting websites or apps. We're under Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on social media with the same name, Seriously Pointless Conversations. Like I said, I just want to thank you guys for coming by and listening to us. James, thanks for coming in, having a little fun with me. It's
been a blast.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you. And like I said, we're going to try and come back with another episode, hopefully next week or the week after sometime. I believe it'll be My Neighbor Tutorial. Don't hold me to that, but I'm going to try. We'll see. It's up to what Jackie's schedule is, and if not, we can always plug something in. So if you guys have any suggestions about what you guys want us to talk about next time, just hit me up on our webpage or email or any social media. All right, guys, thanks for coming in. Have a great one. If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.